Happy Sunday, everyone. It is day 7 of 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, presented by the Search for Tiki and sponsored by Art of Scooter. We're really excited. Day 7, that means we are halfway through 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. And I know someone's going to mention in the comments why I'm wearing a jacket. Although I would love to be in a tropical paradise somewhere, I am in New Hampshire, and it is, although obviously where I'm indoors, it's close to freezing outside, which means wintertime has come. Call it fall if you will, but it feels like winter. But we're really excited because two things. Tonight we're giving away this sick mug, actually from Russia. It is called the Schrodinger's Cat. Close to Tiki actually commented on our post that because of the thought experiment, Schrodinger's Cat, before we announce the winner, you've actually simultaneously both won and not won. Both possibilities exist. But at the end of this stream, we'll have one winner, and that's going to be exciting. We also have a fantastic artist joining us tonight, Rodney. He's got his own Easter Island head. He's got his own Tiki Bob, and he's got his own Suffering Bastard. So he's got all the boxes checked. We're really excited to talk to Rodney. And I think I already saw him come in, so let's see if we can get him on here. It's good to see everybody joining in. Taboo Relics, Lost Idols Company, both of them will be on later. There he is.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm trying some earbuds, so sometimes they work good and sometimes they do not. Yeah, see, so
I'm in the
we'll keep
same
our
boat.
fingers crossed that they don't have a meltdown.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Yes, it will.
It is good to finally see and talk with you in person, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, been messaging a little bit here and there, but yeah, this is all new for all of us. So I've done a couple of these, but they don't get any less nerve-wracking. So bear with me. I'll calm down in a minute.
This is day 7 for me, and I'm still not used to it yet either. So we'll see. But hey, to start this off, I want to cheers to you, man, because Thursday is an important date. Thursday is October 29th, which is your official 1-year anniversary of being in Tiki Mugs, right?
Well, making my very first mold, yeah. It was kind of funny how it came up. I was in the garage the other day and looking at stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I put a date on that, and it was October 29th, 2019 was the date that I scribed on the back of the last piece of the mid-mod Moai mold. So it's kind of hard to believe that it's like the year seemed like it went by really fast, but then again, it's there's been a lot of work in between then and now too. So
I was going to ask, does it feel like it's been less than a year or more than a year?
Well, this year's really messed up. So I mean, who knows what concept? I mean, I don't even, half the time I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. So my concept of time is completely shot. So it's been, I feel it's messed up to say it, but I've actually had a really good year, and ceramics has kind of, I think, saved me this year because it kept me so occupied. I didn't have time to worry about too much. I just had to get my work done. So it's been a blessing.
Talk about a good time to settle in and take a stab at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that ceramics, you've heard it from other people you've had on here. It is definitely a very extremely time-consuming endeavor. There is no shortcut. So, certain things you'll be like, I'll have that done on Tuesday. And, 2 weeks later, you're still grinding away at it. And it's like, man, well, I got to get this done. Or
2 weeks, try 2 months.
Oh yeah, or you put in all the work and then you get stuff fired and you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And you open it and it's just like, so perseverance is the key, I guess.
It's particularly unforgiving.
It can be. it can also be very rewarding too.
High risk, high payoff.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
sometimes, I mean, once again, I'm very new to this. I'm very new to ceramics. But I have been, sculpting and mold making for, gosh, 20, 25 years now. So
Yep.
a lot of that skill set that I had prior to trying to translate that into ceramics has definitely helped. I mean, I think that, I'm assuming how people perceive, but I feel like in the short period of time, I've had what I would consider to be some really good success. I've also had a lot of colossal failures, which you'll never see, but a lot of that's just been laying the groundwork for a long time, and then trying to translate it into this different material that, some things work across the board and other things just don't. So, I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, it's been a long road to get here, but I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm able to do right now. So it's very fulfilling.
The appeal hasn't worn off.
No, it's all consuming now. No, it is. It's no joke. It is all consuming. It takes up pretty much all of my time. That's what I've been focused on, primarily ceramics since last. Well, it's probably even before October, because that's when the first mold was made. But that was when really started to lean in and try to learn something.
Yep.
And I'm drinking water. I apologize. I was going to make myself a nice cocktail before I got on here, and if you would have saw the flurry of activity that it took for me to comb out this bird's nest on my face and I put the collar on before I signed on here, I needed Benny Hill music playing. I was running around like insane. So
no worries. With me. I will drink for the two of us.
I appreciate that. I'm going to drink later. After this is over, I still have work to do. And guess what? It's on ceramics. That's how crazy it is. So, even today, first thing I started off with is cleaning up slip cast that I put in, that I decided, like a crazy person, like, I'll start slip casting at 8:00 at night. Not really smart when you got to get up. And then the first thing is cleaning up mugs. And then I had some messaging that I had to do, trying to follow up with some other things that were left over. Then I decided, hey, I have just enough time to spray glaze on a handful of these touch-up mugs. So if I do that now, I can get that kiln started before I go on.
It's one of those things that, like, even when you want to shut your brain off, it just, like, it sticks with you, and you just can't stop thinking about all the stuff you have to get done.
Yeah, well, and it's, in my case, I'm doing the things that I'm doing from concept to creation. So I'm doing the sculpting and making my molds. I'm doing all my slip casting, all my bisque firing, all my glazing, so on and so forth. So the whole process. And my wife is the one who actually goes to work and gets to leave the house and see human beings out in the world. And yeah, it's one of those things where, you go to bed at night and you think about, okay, I can try to get that done tomorrow. But it's just ongoing, especially because I'm trying to play catch up with the deadline. So it's part of it. It's not a bad problem to have.
What would you say, since it's been a year, a little over a year, depending on how you calculate it, what are you most proud of that you've accomplished in the past year?
Most proud of? I probably have to say, as in terms of ceramics, it's definitely been the Suffering Bastard mug, because that was an idea that I fell in love with, the design. It was a stretch to figure out how to make that mold and pull that off. I got one right here, because the these legs on this guy they're a challenge. I'll just put it that way. There's so much cleanup and work in this that, um, looking back at it now, I think the way I laid it out to make the mold, it was a lot of, dumb luck that it actually worked. But some of that dumb luck, now I'm like, oh man, I should have seen it that way, because, I've got 2 hours or more worth of work cleaning up every single one of these things after they come out. So, I mean, it's just, by the time I've cleaned up maybe the fourth one of the day, my back's killing me. I'm
Yep.
just they're a ton of work, but, yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of, as far as building a skill set, I guess.
One of the things that I love the most about your mugs is they obviously take an incredible amount of work, but it almost hides it. You make it look so easy. Everything's so smooth. And I know mid-century's been a big influence on you, right? But you
Oh yeah.
just make it look so fantastic. And it's not until you actually get kind of an understanding of ceramics and you're looking at it and you're like, wait, how did he do that? And it's so cool.
Oh, I appreciate that, and that's kind of the aesthetic. I mean, as you know, Carol Gravem, Mini Tiki Meow on Instagram, is I would, to call her my teacher would kind of give her some injustice. I mean, she's a true friend and a true mentor. So, if it wasn't for her guidance and support, I mean, we commiserate with each other about a lot of stuff too. It's like, oh man, this is horrible. I'm having a bad day. Glaze firings that go wrong, so on and so forth. But she told me, she's like, you're crazy doing those smooth mugs, because the problem with it is every single little flaw that is in the clay body shows up through the glaze. You cannot hide it to save your life. So I have a lot of rejects.
Oh no.
A lot of rejects. So, even though I really love that aesthetic, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart, there will be things with texture on them in the future, just for my sanity. I had a full head of hair before I started doing ceramics.
Yeah.
And and I mean, I really appreciate that. I kind of have a history of doing that, and I don't know where I got it from. I think, trying to make things look almost plastic and not handmade. I have a background in theming and stuff like that, and a lot of
Yep.
paint preparation. So I mean, paint, sanding, automotive things for automotive paint. Same thing. It's very it's very unforgiving. If there's any flaws in that surface, it's gonna stand out like a sore thumb. So I had, if people have followed me, I used to make these big Easter Island heads based off of the first tiki mug I made. And those are made out of fiberglass, and I would sand them. I would sand them down with like 400 grit sandpaper to get them prepped for paint. And, people would come up to the booth and think that they were made out of like blow mold plastic, because I had just sanded every human feature out of it. And I mean, part of that was kind of a compliment, like, hey, I was able to make that look super slick. But then it's like, you don't get, I don't know, you don't get the handmade aspect of it, the feel for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I take pride in that, but at the same time, it's like, I'm really enjoying doing some things that have more of a handmade quality to them, because they are handmade. So, you can always strive for perfection, but I don't think it exists. So, I mean, the best runner-up is, make it the best quality you possibly can. So, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm rolling with at this point.
Well, I think I stand for everyone when we say we love your aesthetic, and we're excited to see what you come up with. I know you, you talked a little bit about it just now, how you obviously had over 20 years experience with sculpting. And you talked about Carol being your friend, your mentor. And you've mentioned to me in text messages that you probably wouldn't have done ceramics if it weren't for Carol kind of pushing you.
Oh,
So
no, no.
I'm kind
Um,
of curious, like, so with even with 2 decades of experience of sculpting, what was it about ceramics that kind of scared you?
I, the commitment. I mean, it is just to like boil it down to it is to take on ceramics and do it in house. Like my garage is right on the other side of that
Yeah.
wall right there, and that's where everything is. So I haven't been able to park my any of our vehicles in my garage for over a year. So there's you have to have a dedicated space for the kiln, for a place to make your mold, to do your slip casting. It's messy, it's dirty, and then you need some kind of a spray booth set up if you're going to spray glaze. It's just so it's a space commitment,
Yep.
and then it's a financial commitment too, because you have to buy a kiln, and there's electric that has to be run to make that kiln work. Then the next thing you know, you're buying a spray gun, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to go get materials, and holy crap, I just spent like $100 on glaze. Like, what? I don't even know if this stuff is going to work. So there's all these commitments, and then like we've already talked about, it's a huge time commitment too. I mean, you can't rush it and everything else. I had some experience, minimal experience with ceramics as an undergraduate at the university, some hand building, some throwing, things like that. So I had some idea of it, but it was just, I knew it was going to be, um, commitment on a bunch of different levels. And the other thing is, I'm old enough that I know myself really well right now, and I knew that I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of guy. So if I was going to take it on, I knew I was going to
Obsess
take it on.
about it?
Yeah, just kind of tendency to maybe get in over my head a little bit at times. Um, so, I was fearful of that, and I had a couple designs. Because Carol's the one who sculpted Mod Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been widely known. It was based on a pendant that I did. So Carol's the one who did that sculpt, and it was a real collaboration between the two of us, and she made some, and now I'm making them, with her blessing and generosity to me, and just I can't thank her enough. Um, but that was the first thing that came in, and I told her, I was like, I have these other designs. I'm thinking about maybe having, maybe taking this. She's like, she's the one who was like, don't you dare. She's like, you know how to make molds, you know how to sculpt. I'll guide you through the other process.
Yeah.
So without that kind of guidance, I mean, and without her, I mean, I know she's on here. I saw her. I mean, she could chime in and I went kicking and screaming. I mean, I resisted like nobody's business. And then when I finally kind of got over the first initial fears and, text messaging her every single day with questions, I won't say it's gotten easier, but I'm definitely more comfortable with what I'm doing. And I'm easy. It's easier for me to accept mistakes and things like that they're just bound to happen. Did I answer that question for you?
You did. You did. But
I talked a lot.
I have a follow-up because on the flip side, so obviously there are a lot of challenges to ceramics. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. It takes perseverance. One of the reasons we made the Search for Tiki is because we want to kind of help people understand Tiki, learn Tiki, love Tiki. What would you say to someone feeling kind of how you felt a little over a year ago, who was really interested in Tiki, but wasn't sure about making the jump?
As far as them taking on mug making themselves?
Yeah. If someone wanted to pursue that, but they were kind of scared to go all in?
Well, I don't want to send anybody down the line, but I'm always going to be a leader for anybody who wants to be creative and follow their pursuits. I don't care what it is, you know. Um, but I mean, I wouldn't tell somebody like, "Oh yeah, man, go get a kiln and throw all this, you know, get all your stuff up there. Just quit your job, sell your car." You know, I wouldn't. I don't know that I would tell them to go down that road. But I would say, you know, you can definitely experiment with it. I mean, you don't have to. There's other ways around it. I kind of went all in because I'm a little goofy sometimes,
Odd.
and I had some things. So I mean, but people at home, I mean, the first thing that you have to do if you're going to do ceramics is you have to be able to sculpt something. So I know a lot of people do the 3D sculpt. I don't do any of that. I am so old school. It's ridiculous. You know, I think I got Windows 98 on the home computer. Um, but, you know, learn about sculpting. Learn about, you've heard it on here before, learn about how to adjust undercuts. That's your biggest enemy. Um, watch Van Tiki's Tiki Technical Tuesdays. Those things are amazing. You'll learn so much from that. And you can avoid a lot of those pitfalls. So I would say start off with sculpting, start off with, you know, some design, some things like that. And you can get help. You can get help for resources for making a mold and things like that. And, you know, if somebody's really interested in it, I mean, Van Tiki, I even mentioned it on his thing. A lot of people, you can take an open entry, open exit class at your local community college, you know. You can test it out to get kind of cut your teeth without, you know, betting the farm on it.
Yeah.
So it, you know, I think in my case, because of what had been going on, and I knew Carol was such a good teacher, I felt like I could take, you know, my past experience and kind of bridge that gap a lot farther than just, you know, if I wouldn't have had Carol's support and I
Yep.
wouldn't have had the experience in, I mean, mold making, mostly like silicone molds in my case for the past work. If I didn't have that experience, I probably wouldn't have done it. I'm not trying to deter anybody from following your dreams, but I would say educate yourself as much as you can before you make that, because I mean, you can go out and spend, you know, $4,000 on a kiln and $1,200 on wiring, and the next thing you know, it's a year later, things aren't working out, and then you got a kiln that's up on Craigslist. You know, there's another used kiln out there. So I just think that education is huge, but you can watch as many videos as you want, but you do have to do it at some point. You do have to take action. So I'd say start off with sculpting, you know, and you can even practice with different materials at home, trying to figure out how you would do that.
Did you
I don't
have
know. I
a
don't know if I'm in.
No, I think it's something where like it is so much work. It's not something to take lightly. It's so much of an investment of time and whatnot. But at the same time, like talking to all you guys, you tonight and everyone else I've talked to, I mean, everybody loves it so much. And when you get bit by that bug, you know, even though there are all these hurdles, you know, it's probably worth it if that's in your blood. And
Yeah, it's very extremely gratifying when you open that kiln after doing a glaze fire. And I have to this day, I have not had one glaze firing where I opened it up and everything was good. Not one time. Not one time has passed the grade. There's always been some flaw, some pinhole, some stupid thing that's happened with something where there was either a complete reject or I had to try to fix it. But still, that feeling of opening up that kiln, somebody, you know, had mentioned, I think Carol might have said it's like Christmas morning every time you open that, because there's all these like, you know, beautiful colors and everything looks perfect, and it isn't until you put on the old readers and start picking them up and looking around, you're like, crap, that one sucks, you know. And but
that's so
but the
funny to hear you
perseverance,
say that because Van Tiki feels the absolute opposite. He dreads it.
He
Oh,
hates
it
opening
makes
the
me so
kill.
nervous. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, I guess there's some anxiety involved, especially if you've kind of given yourself some self self-proposed deadline for some project that you absolutely have to get done, and like it's like, oh God, please, they have to be all good. I mean, I've kind of run into that. I ran into that with some things a while ago, but for the most part, it's just I think the first, like when you do test glazes and stuff like that, that's really cool too, because you just don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. And sometimes this happened too, where the first one I pulled out, I was like, oh man, this is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And then you commit like 10 mugs to that color and they all turn out crappy. I mean, like they've
None of
never
them look
been.
the same.
No, I mean, just that glaze only worked like on that one mug, that one time for whatever reason. And then you just destroyed like hours and hours and hours worth of work because you committed to this glaze that you thought was like so awesome. And it just, oh man, every time I think like, yeah, I cracked the code on that one, it's like, no, you didn't. Don't get don't get too sure of yourself,
Don't get too
So
cocky. We'll show you.
yeah, it has for me anyways, it has a way of keeping me humble, but I think one of the things that I absolutely love about it is it's a challenge. So I always feel like I'm trying to compete against the kiln to provide
Okay.
to produce good work. So it's a constant battle of, opening up and, things are kind of a disaster. You're like, oh man, why am I, did I sign myself up for this? Like, am I going to be constantly just tortured by this? And then the next day, something's like totally awesome. They're like, yeah, I got it. So it's kind of a ups and downs roller coaster. And sometimes, you refire something and the outside it's just gorgeous. It's perfect. And then the inside glaze, it's like they're not simpatico. So yeah, I mean, I haven't cracked the code, so I just keep making as many of them as I can, and I only sell the good one.
What happens to the bad ones?
The bad ones go away.
They go
They go to
away.
the island of misfit mugs.
That
I have a
should be
few.
that should be Manchester, New Hampshire, where I'm at. You can
Oh, is
dispose of all your misfits in Manchester, New Hampshire.
well, and the thing is, I mean, I've had people be like, oh, I'll take your rejects, but it's like I made that thing from beginning to end, and it's got my name on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So you don't know where these things are going to end up, So it's like if it's like really like some like really bad, like no way. I mean, it's just not going out there. I as much as it would like kill me to like smash them up with a hammer, I'd rather smash them up with a hammer
Then have to know that
than
they're
have
out
them
there
out
somewhere.
because once it leaves my possession, I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going to end up. And my whole thing, my whole mantra's been it's all about quality and it's all about craftsmanship. So if I send, something that didn't pass my test at the time, then it's like then I'm kind of not being true to myself either. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'd much rather, as painful as it is, I'd much rather destroy those or have them. I'm in Arizona, so like by this time next year, I'll probably have like the largest succulent garden in the backyard with just tiki mugs filled with succulents and like whatever mint and whatever for cocktails out there in the backyard. But
So now we know where the island of
yeah,
misfit mugs is. It's your backyard full of succulents.
yeah, or in the landfill that's around here somewhere.
Wah, 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 wah.
No, I'm just, it's just, you want it to be the best that it can possibly be when it leaves
For sure.
my possession of it.
I mean, you can
So
see that in your work. You can see the
I
absolute
try.
perfectionism that you have and that you bring.
Well, I'm trying because I figured that was one of the only ways that I could maybe not separate myself um, from this. There's a lot
Yeah.
of mugs being made out there.
Yep.
There's a lot of mugs being manufactured. There's not. If you hear the dogs barking, it means my wife's home. So if I got these in, hopefully, they're going to go nuts for a couple
Oh
minutes.
boy.
Um, so, oh man, I lost my train of thought. Where was I at?
I distinguishing yourself. So
Oh,
not to cut you off, but when I think about, okay, there are so many Tiki Bob mugs. There are so many
yeah.
Easter Island mugs. There are so many Suffering Bastards. But when I think about Easter Island mugs, one of the first things I think of is your self-portrait mug, which is
Oh, wow. Thank you.
amazing that you were able to do something so overdone and somehow turn it into something awesome and epic that I had not seen before.
I appreciate that. That mug, you're talking about this guy, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this sculpt was actually done back in 2007 or 2008. Big Toe had invited me to be part of a show that he curated over in California called Surf Beat.
Yep.
And so, I mean, this is back in the MySpace days. So, I had come up with, I actually have one here. So I had done these busts. This one was painted up by a friend of mine, but this is the original sculpture. And you can see there's undercuts, and this is fiberglass. So this is what I used to do, and my friend Jason Janes actually painted this guy up for me. So I didn't paint it, which is why I still have it. But
It's so cool.
back then, I love it. I love it. And back then, it's something that I would have loved to have done in ceramics back in 2007, 2008, but I just didn't. I wasn't set up for that. I wasn't ready to take that leap. So I had made a few of those in fiberglass. I had actually done some concrete ones. There's a few people that have them. And that night at that show, some people came up from all over California, sold out of my art for that night, and it was those. And I got to meet like all my heroes that night. So I mean, I got bit by the bug back then. I was like, oh wow, I found my tribe. It was such a cool show. It was
As
just
so many
like,
people do.
yeah. Well, it was just I'm from Arizona, so I mean, a lot of this culture is in California. So going
Yep.
over there to meet the Piz and Ken Rizek and Big Toe, and I mean, it's like who's list of just heavy hitters in the lowbrow art scene and the tiki community now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even Bamboo Ben had an art piece in it, but I won't talk about. No, it was basically a dead rat in a plastic box, but that's for another time.
It's
True
so
story.
fitting. So fitting.
But that night it was one of the first times where I was like, holy crap, like these are my people,
Mm-hmm.
So at that point I really wanted to have their respect and be part of that. So I put a lot more effort into my artwork for those scenes and started doing more shows over there and things like that. But yeah, that was the start of it. It wasn't until last year that I had the gumption to be like, you know what? I've always wanted that to be a mug. So, and I appreciate it.
Was that your first slipcast, or was it the Mod Bob? What was your first?
No. So I mean, really, if you're breaking down chronologically, this is the
Okay.
very, very first mug.
Yep.
that I designed as a mug, made as a mug. This, there it is in all its deceptively simple form. But this would have been the first sculpt that I did solely for mug making. The sculpt for this guy had already, I had the sculpt,
Yep.
but I had to translate it to work because the bust that you saw over there, it has undercuts and all kinds of stuff on it. It never would have. The naked eye, they probably look the same, but they are nowhere near the same. So, I mean, to get it out of a plaster mold, I had to do a lot of changes to that. And then the very first mug with my name on the bottom is the one that shares my name with Carol. So that's Mod Bob. So he's been there's a life changer for me right here in so many ways. So I'm eternally grateful to Carol for making this happen and just kind of lighting this fire.
We all are thankful to Carol as well.
It's been a great journey. It's been a great journey.
Is there a mug that, so obviously Carol pushed you to go into mug making. You were kind of unsure about it at first, commitment and everything. Is there a time or a particular mug when you said, you know what, this is going to be all right, this is working?
I'm still waiting. Sorry, the dogs are going crazy. I don't know if you can.
She's home.
Yeah, she's home. I think that every single mug, every project has its own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's working because I'm able to sell what I make. I mean, people want what I make, and I have a waiting list for it too. So I would say, yeah, it's working in that regard. I would like to say that I would like to get to the point where I feel like I have more consistent success, like more product that turns out great the first time than
unless that ends up holding succulents.
But I mean, I think that that's also a part of learning too, so I'm continuing to grow, and I'm continuing to try to stretch myself a little bit more so that I can continue to provide good quality. And I think with that experience comes more success, hopefully.
And I think it's really important for everyone, not just the people making mugs, but the people who are buying mugs, to understand a lot of these troubles that are in the process, because it makes you appreciate the tiki mugs that much more.
Yeah, well, and there's so many variables. Oh my gosh, there's so many variables with like low fire clays and low fire glazes, and everything that I do in stoneware. So that's like a medium fire, like a cone 6 firing.
Yep.
There's there's all kinds of chemistry and all kinds of stuff like that too. So I think, glazes, in my experience, are a little more problematic when you get up to the cone 6 stuff. But then, man, when they turn out, you get like really cool stuff like that, kind of metallic you can get up pop, because you can't really do that in low fire. And also, like, I love the way a stoneware mug feels. It just feels different. It's just, I don't know, it's a different creature. They're more tactile. I don't know, I just prefer it. So
you've this is a very particular question, but you did a gold one of your self-portrait mugs, right?
Yes, I did.
Gold is one of those things where I have seen so many mugs use gold, and I'm like, I just don't like it. The gold is not doing it for me. But that mug looks awesome. Is there something that you use is it the temperature that you're firing at?
A lot of that is based on, and once again, with my limited understanding, that wasn't a special mix glaze. That is, Holdfast says mine because Mr. Holdfast owns that mug now.
I'm coming for you, hold fast.
So that I had experimented with that glaze a couple times, and actually, it's not to do a shameless plug, but believe it or not, that gold is the same color that I'm using on these metallic components for these Frankensteins that I made.
Is that the one that ends in like 30 minutes?
This is the one that ends tonight, yeah. So this is the last of the auctions.
So everybody watching this stream, Odd Rodney has that mug. It's literally ending on eBay in like, what, at 10:30? So you got less than an hour.
7:30 my time. 7:30 my time. But yeah, this is the last one that went up for auction. But anyway, I was talking about the gold. I mean, it's that gold. So depending, you can see here, it doesn't look gold. It almost looks like tarnished brass, I guess. So once again, that's like a firing temperature. If you go, the thicker it's laid on and the higher temperature you fire it at, the more metallic and gold looking it gets. That particular self-portrait mug, it was just really cool how it kind of did its thing, and then where there was some of the thicker things, it didn't run, but it just did some really cool features to it that I did one of them and I loved it, and then I just kind of left it alone because like I felt like it was just kind of like a lucky thing, and I'm like, I don't want to ruin it by trying it again. But I mean, I have used that gold on components for some other projects that I've been playing around and trying to experiment to try to get a little better if I can. So, but that one was.
I think it looks great. I mean, anyone that owns a golden piranha from Trader Sam's would see that and appreciate that so much, because it just looks so much cooler than some of the.
Some of those metallics, I've seen some of the people that some of the mugs that have come out where it's almost got like a chrome finish on it, and I'm just like, do I want to try that, or once I go down that rabbit hole, you know?
When you're doing glazes, do you approach it as more science or as more like play? Like, I'm just gonna do 10 of these and see what happens.
I've done both. So, like the mugs, I mean, I don't have a lot of mugs in my portfolio, if you will. So a lot of the mid-mod moai and the self-portrait, there were a lot of one-of-a-kinds in there because, once again, being new to it, and anybody who's walked into a ceramic supply place, they show you these tiles. They're like this big, right?
Yeah.
And some of them have like maybe they have like a little basket weave pattern on it. They try to show you, like, oh, this is what this is going to look like. And so you're like, oh, that's really cool. I love that green. And you bring it home and you try it. And no, it's horrible. It is horrible. It looks great when it's a square this big, but nobody in the world wants a mug that color. Or, it just doesn't go up. Yeah, I mean, I had some stuff go like really bad. So, when you find something that works, like for the mid-century modern stuff, I've tried to stay kind of in a matte white, a matte black palette, with some contrasting, a pop of color that's kind of mid-century modern to kind of keep that genre. The self-portraits are kind of like, it's kind of a free-for-all in some ways. So, there's been some of those that are one of a kind, like this one. This is the only one I did in this pistachio color. The gold, there was only one of those. There's been a handful of them. So, I mean, it was kind of some experimentation in there. I have done things where, I was like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I sprayed this color over the top of that color. So you kind of, mesh them together and you end up with, sometimes I've got one combination that I absolutely love, and it is gorgeous. And there's a few combinations that I've used that I will never use again. I have full glaze in the garage, and it's like, I spent the money on it. I can't return it, but like, no, I don't know why, but I've had the worst time with blue. Blue, like,
Huh.
it hates me. It absolutely hates me. It
Do
disaster.
you use like test tiles or little models, or do you just test it on mugs?
I tried doing test tiles for a while. I have a whole bunch of them. I made tons of them. I don't know why, but the problem is like the test tile, it lays flat on the shelf in there.
Okay.
So, you get it on there and it might look fantastic. But then when I go, because most of the glazes that I do, I actually spray the glaze. I don't paint them on. So I don't know if it's something with gravity, or what the deal is. But I don't even use the test tiles anymore because it doesn't matter. I mean, it can look perfect on that test tile, but you put it on a mug and you fire it, and it's completely different. So I mean, there is kind of like that. All right, well, which one of you guys in this lineup is going to get sacrificed to this experiment? It's kind of like and unfortunately, some of them have perished because of my poor choice of combinations. Some of them they just don't work, and they're very ugly. So,
That's so good. Although that like now you have to conquer blue.
oh, I know. I'm stubborn. I don't know if I mentioned that, but
You
I'm very
did.
stubborn and persistent. So I'm on the lookout. So every time I've gone back to the ceramic supply place, I'm kind of like hunting around looking for something. So I've actually got one that I tried on another project that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of like a blue green. So that one's going to end up on the inside of something or on the outside of a mug here soon, because I just have to know. I just have to know if it's going to work. And you'll know if it works because I'll post a picture of it. But if you never see it,
That it
it
didn't
didn't work.
work. See, I'm gonna be
Didn't
on the
work.
lookout now. I'm gonna be refresh, checking that feed.
Yeah, well, if I can crack the code on a really nice like aqua or teal blue, uh, of course by that time, I won't want to use that color anymore. But right now,
You'll
I
be
might
so
be I
sick
might
of
be
it.
totally by then. Yeah, it's possible.
Um, Not to change the subject, but you did an interview with Lost Tiki Girl of Tiki Land Trading.
Yep.
I don't know how long ago that was, a few months. And you mentioned that you may have a bowl that you are working on. Are you still working on that?
So update on the bowl. Half of it's done, half of it is not. And I've kind of, going through the work with the Suffering Bastard, the amount of work that goes into that for that single mug.
Yep.
The bowl, it's not like a bowl, it's a bowl. So, I mean, I think it's the bowl portion without figures is probably over 12 inches in diameter. I
Okay,
mean,
yep.
it's big. And it's so big that I think I might only be able to fit 2 of them, maybe 3 of them in the kiln at one time. So, I'm kind of in this, I'm weighing things out with COVID and everything else. Like, is this really a good time to be making a giant scorpion bowl? Because either one person's going to be drinking out of it and then they're just going to be hammered, or they're going to have to get 6 of their friends to come over to share with them, and that's probably not a good idea either. So it will happen because I started it, so of course I have to see it through.
Yeah.
But there's some other projects that are kind of floating around right now. Like, well, some of them are still up here in the gray matter. Some of them are concepts that I really, I'm hoping that if time permits, I can kind of pursue some of those maybe at least get a concept going or something, before the end of the year. So the Scorpion Bowl will happen. I mean, I already put so much work into it. It's like stupid for me not to see it through at this point. But who knows? It might be one of those things where like 10 of them are made and that's it. But I'm so damn stubborn and don't know any better that of course I'd
You gotta finish
go ahead
it.
and burn, a 50 pound bag of pottery plaster and God knows how many, 5 gallons of slip and horrible glaze mistake just to see if I can pull it off. Because I'm a glutton for punishment. So
Danielle was saying that the other night too.
What's that?
I think every tiki person has to be a glutton for punishment. To an extent.
And I mean, if you want to make something unique and you want to kind of do your own thing, you kind of have to stick your neck out there a little bit. So, and once again, I mean, you can't relate. There's no real shortcuts in this stuff. So, there's going to be some point in time where you're going to be like, why the hell did I spend all that time on that? And then it just, it's heartbreaking when it doesn't work. But you're sad for a few, and then you pick yourself up and you go back to work.
Move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Can I ask, just out of curiosity, your bowl, is it like a triangle or is it like a square? It looked like you had like tikis kind of that you were working on.
Yeah, it's a circle. I would go get it, but you wouldn't even be able to see it. I can kind of give you the shape. So it's narrow at the top and then kind of bulges out at the bottom, and it's a floating bowl because of course I got it.
You got it, right?
So it's a floating bowl with you'd have 3 little Marcasian dudes holding it up, and there's a distinctive pattern that I've kind of put on the bowl that hopefully I won't regret when I try to take that mold apart. It was a really good idea when I put it on there, but we'll see if that turns out. If not, I might just be sanding the entire inside of that mold. Yeah, actually, I just saw Carol popped it. She's like, she has seen it. So thank you, Carol. Carol wants me to do it. So Carol's been on me about finishing that thing too. I've just been trying to get caught up on Suffering Bastard and stuff. There isn't a lot of stuff in my shop right now, so trying to supply and demand. So trying to get ahead of the game. I've actually got some mugs in the kiln right now. So,
ooh, are they Suffering Bastards?
Got a few of these guys. There's only I think I got maybe 3 of these in the shop right now. But I've been slip casting Suffering Bastards for weeks now. So I've got a small army on a table over here that are glazed that passed my inspection. And then I've got a whole bunch that are slip cast, but I still have to go back and clean them all up before I do the bisque fire and then glaze them and stuff. I kind of have I was only able to do a small amount of those back in August when Virtual Tiki Oasis was going on. So the handful that I had, I put them up. They sold really quickly, and then I had a few people reach out to me asking if I was, going to make more. So I kind of created a list, and as I've been getting some of these made, I've been fulfilling the people that had requested a Suffering Bastard off of that list. Just because I felt bad that they missed out. It was kind of a last minute thing that I put up, and I don't know. I really appreciate the purchases, so I feel bad if people are like, oh, I really wanted that. Well, I'll try to take care of you as soon as I can. You just might have to wait.
Rodney's got your back.
I try. I try. So I've been working on that. I have a set number in my head that I want to have completed. I will not say it out loud because I am ceramics has made me superstitious, so I will not say the number because if I say it out loud, it won't happen. But I have a number that I want to get, and then I kind of want to do a re-release, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe mid-November. So hopefully anybody that was interested in that mug, the black or the white version. Oh, okay, all right.
Add me to the list.
Yeah, man. Okay, all right. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully, the people who wanted one, hopefully I can kind of make that happen for them. And then I have to say that there's so much work that I'm actually kind of looking forward to taking a break from those, and I really, really, really want to, just for the sake of changing the game up a little bit. I'm really excited about doing a new sculpt, and I want to get back into mold making and make some other stuff. So there's some concepts that I've been kicking around for a long time that I'm really excited about doing.
As much as I want a mug, I would not fault you for doing another sculpt because I would be ecstatic to see more work from you. It is always an exciting thing when you post a new sculpt. So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just it's a transition, and I just I kind of have a couple ideas, but now of course after going through what I've gone through with some of these things, I'm rethinking how to make the mold. I mean, I have to put a lot of thought process into how where the parting lines have to be, and to make it not only easy for myself, but it also if you're not cleaning up stuff all over it, it's going to make a much better, cleaner mug for whoever's purchasing it too. So trying to think smarter, not harder, if I can.
And more people will be able to get their hands on them, which is another plus.
Yeah, that's one of the downfalls about doing this yourself is that, people are used to seeing runs of 150, 200 mugs, that seems like a standard right now. And it's like, I can't imagine doing a run of 200 of anything on my own here, no matter. I mean, it's mind-boggling to think about that. But I mean, that might be something that, I do a sculpt and bring in a manufacturing partner at that point to do that for a larger run for something to, I'm not saying I'm going to do that, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to that, but I mean, that's the only way that would even be an option, is to have someone else do
the manufacturing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much. I mean, even these suffering bastard bugs. I mean, I only get to pull maybe 10 or 12 of them out of a mold before the mold is just like, because they're smooth, so the surface quality, it just it disintegrates. So
that's brutal.
You could
for most people watching, I think 20 is like an average. Maybe if you pushed it 27 for a mold. So a mold that does 11.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the amount of detail that's in there. But then at the same time, with a smooth mug, you're running into the same problem, because then it's not smooth. You get little grainy pieces on it and stuff like that. So it's it's your choice. Do you want to have 20 plaster molds, and that's what it takes to get 200 mugs? I don't know. It's kind of a catch-22. Like, you can spend all that time making molds for 10 pulls, and then it's like, everybody's like, well, how come this mug is $300?
Yeah, that's all that time.
It's like, well, because it takes forever, and so anyway, that's
I hate to cut you off, but I have been given the countdown of doom. We've got 35 seconds.
All right.
I could easily talk to you for a couple more hours, but we'll have
I'm a talker
for another day.
All right, sounds good.
All right, real quickly.
I just wanted to say, everybody, thank you so much for your support and everything this year. It means the world to me. I will shut up. Thank you so much. Love you.
Thank you for joining us, Odd Rodney. Real quick, the winner of the mug is Tracy Goodwin. So congratulations, Tracy. And thank you so much, Odd Rodney.